This is the Food and Justice Podcast with Brenda Sanders.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to Food and Justice with Brenda Sanders. I am so pleased and just elated to have our guest today, which is, I live for guests like Miss Bonnetta Adeeb because food and justice is all about digging into the food system and making people aware of the aspects of the food system that they may not know about. So I want to start by reading Miss Adeeb's bio, and then we're going to jump right into the questions. Bonnetta Adeeb, founder and president of STEAM Onward, Inc., a nonprofit 501c3 organization in Southern Maryland, as well as the projects Ujamaa Cooperative Farming Alliance, or UCFA, and Ujamaa Seeds. UCFA is a collective of emergent and seasoned growers who cultivate heirloom seeds and grow culturally relevant plants for food, healing, and textiles. Ujamaa recognizes the need for increased diversity in farming and the seed industry, and the need to provide more opportunities and support for growers from historically oppressed and marginalized communities. To this end, the UCFA is working to bridge the gap between prospective growers and seed companies. In addition, she works with the Cooperative Gardens Commission to distribute free heirloom seeds to communities in need, serving 300 seed hubs nationally. January 12th saw the launch of a new Black Indigenous-led project. Ujamaa Seeds is an online store cultivating and distributing culturally important seeds to increase diversity in the seed industry. Thank you so much, Bonnetta Adeeb.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I'm so excited. I'm just going to jump into the questions, but I'm sure, that we'll just talk about any and everything, and that is perfectly fine because you have a lot of wisdom to share. So the word Ujamaa, how did this word come to be used as the name for your collective?
Well, I'm going to try to truncate that story because in Southern Maryland, I grew up in California. My family's from the Carolinas. And in California, we celebrated Kwanzaa every year. It's a really big deal in Southern California. When we came here, people were not doing that. That was important for me to make sure that my children had that tradition. And so we really like the principles, and they have we're talking about community building, and Kwanzaa summarizes just about everything. So my friend, a fellow grandmother and farmer, Fatima Hassan, and I were working to try to find some ways to help Black farmers, which are struggling. We had organized farmers to teach kids how to farm. And then once we did that, we realized that the farmers were all having their own struggles. Black farmers have been struggling, since day one of stepping on this land. We have been struggling. And so the farmers really enjoyed being together. We started off first, we had one, then two, then we had seven, then we had 20. And now we have growers all over the country, and we're growing internationally as people find out about the work we're doing. So the concept is, bringing the children back home to their skills, their talents, and reclaiming their tradition. So Kwanzaa is all about community building, gathering, restoration, celebration, and unity. What's better way to find a principle? We named ourselves Ujamaa, but we follow all 7 principles. And at grandmothers, we get the chance to say things over and over again. You know how we do. Sometimes we can't remember your name. We may call you baby, but we're telling you the same thing over and over again. So hopefully, now that Kwanzaa has escaped December, that we start practicing these principles in efforts to reclaim our heritage in agriculture.
That is wonderful. And you're collective. So why would you say that cooperative economics to you is so important?
Oh, yeah, I'm a retired history teacher. And if you look at culture internationally, if you look at Africa particularly and communities around the world, you find out that the people are happier and work better together in groups. It's a part of the language, a part of the African cosmos. It's the way in which we celebrate, it's the way we worship, it's the way we play, and we're a collective people. And so we need each other. The example I like to give that some people get is like one man can't build a barn. You need your neighbors, you need friends.
Yes.
One person can't be a community. One person can't possibly have all of the skills and tools and technologies you need. But if you bring the community together, you can get stuff done. And plus, it's natural and it's actually more fun, especially when you add some music and some dancing. And most dance comes from agriculture. Almost all the dances originate in agriculture. Music comes from agriculture. We are, as humans, of people that are seeking to eat. We've been trying to eat because we can't go a day without it.
Right.
So most of our culture starts around the growing and the reaping and the ceremony, harvest. So it's the way in which we are most happy and most productive,
Mm.
in my opinion.
I tell you what, I'm already inspired. We done just got into this. And all of what you're saying is so true. I mean, some of my best memories were of my grandmother's tiny little Baltimore City row house backyard plot. And how she would go out and pick the beans, and she would let us shell the beans, which now I realize, it wasn't so much letting us do it, but like, giving us the responsibility. But she made it exciting. She had the music on, and we would talk and things like that. So now I definitely appreciate that, and I think that everybody deserves to be able to have that. So thank you so much for that. Um and I want to talk about the seed saving in particular, because you and I had a previous conversation and you were talking about seed cultivating and seed saving, which was something that I really have not thought about. I mean, I know that seeds start the plant, but I had never really thought about like saving the seeds in particular. And so why did you decide to get into growing seed crops and saving the seeds?
Well, let me quote my grandmother who said, neither a borrower or a lender be. So if you have seeds, you can sit on your own bottom. Let every
Mm,
pot sit on its own. Be independent, and in order to feed yourself, you need to know how to protect yourself and your heritage and your food. So seed saving is the basis of that. Now we understand how we ran by cover of dark, trying to get out of the South, trying to get away from the farm because of the abuse that we experienced there. But we left the baby, throughout the whole baby, and the skills that we had and we knew that sustained us, probably the reason why they came to get us, why we were sold into slavery, was because of our agricultural skills. That was wealth, that was intelligence, that was survival, and it was the reason why we ended up here was because of our agricultural uh, skills.
mm,
So seed saving is something we have to get back to because somehow we associated that with all the hard times on the farm. And it's work, farm work is hard. I'm not going to try to say it's not. But gardening isn't so bad. My mother had a big old yard, and the whole yard was vegetables and fruit everywhere,
mm,
fruit trees. We ate greens every day when I was a child. It would be different kind of greens, and I think it's the reason why we were strong and healthy, and why the old folks lived a long time, and it's because of the way we lived and the way we ate. So if we can get back to our self-reliance. That's what seeds are about, is self-reliance, being able to take care of ourselves and not have to every year go hunting for something that we could have just saved ourselves.
yes, I specifically work within marginalized urban communities where the health has just deteriorated so far, and it only took one generation for it to deteriorate, but it's so quick. Like when you get back to eating foods fresh from the ground, I mean, the health just, it's so quick to
The
get that health
fix,
back.
the
Yes.
fix is quick too.
Yeah.
And as if we can reclaim this heritage and raise our children up to not be afraid of work, not to be afraid of soil or bugs or even snakes,
Mm-hmm.
whatever's out there in the garden, God put it out there,
Mm.
So just a comfort with the natural world. There's peace in that. Have you heard of this program called Park RX?
I haven't.
They have it in DC and Baltimore. Many cities have it. So when you come into the doctor, you realize you got high blood pressure, you're all stressed out, you're pre-diabetic, all those things that a lot of us turn out to be. The doctor can write you a prescription, and the prescription suggests that if you spend a certain number of minutes each week outside in open space, just breathing in fresh air and trees, that you will become healthier.
Mm.
There's tons of data in our region, right here in our region, that shows the benefits of just spending time outside. So, Granny had a strong back. She could move
Mm-hmm.
things. She could lift things. Yeah, she might have had a little arthritis in her hands like me, but keeping busy helped her hands
Yes.
stay better, helped her stay healthier and longer. And of course, longevity is something that we need to reclaim. COVID has stolen so many of our elders, and there's a saying that every time an elder passes, it's like a library burns to the ground.
Mm.
We haven't fully realized the wealth that our ancestors hold, our elders hold, and all of that is our tradition that needs to be reclaimed. And if you know Kwanzaa, it's all about those things.
Yeah.
Bringing the elders in, intergenerational. That it's more wholesome that way. What can you do that you can't do with Granny in the room or children? What are what are you gonna be doing?
Certainly
Excuse
true.
me, excuse me, your audience. But we know that if grandma and the kids can see it, it's probably a better activity, a more wholesome activity. And certainly if you've been to a party with any of your African family friends, everybody's there because we celebrate life together.
Food and Justice is made possible with support from Defund Big Meat, a grassroots effort to encourage strategic collaboration across all sectors of global justice. Find more information about Defund Big Meat at defundbigmeat.org. A Well-Fed World, an international hunger relief and food justice organization advancing plant-based foods and farming to create a nourished and climate-friendly future. Find out more about A Well-Fed World at awfw.org. Better Food Foundation, an organization that promotes dietary changes to build a healthy, equitable, humane, and environmentally sustainable food system. You can find out more about Better Food Foundation at betterfoodfoundation.org. And Farm Sanctuary, a farmed animal sanctuary working to fight the disastrous effects of animal agriculture on animals, the environment, social justice, and public health through rescue, education, and advocacy. Find out more about Farm Sanctuary at farmsanctuary.org.
It's so sad that so many people in our community have lost that connection. And it's all about, you turn a certain age, get out there, find a life for yourself, and, and then your kids have to get out there. And it's just that connection has been lost. And I think we definitely need it back.
Well, when people had gardens or farms, they needed all the farmhands. So your grandmother needed you to pick those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had a place in the family. There was a role for everybody, and grandma knew when to plant, but maybe you knew you had the strong hands, because I'll tell you, unpacking seeds, and I had to go buy myself a glove
Mm.
from a copper tone glove because the arthritis in my hands, it gets an ache. But a child, still has that ability to do it. I could teach you how to do it. And as a family, we build it together. Whatever we build, we do it together. That allows me to tell you all the stories and all the fables. And in my case, it was all the hymns, because my whole family tradition is built into the hymnal.
Okay.
It's all about the hymns. That's what I was raised with, with the stories of the triumph, the stories, the songs of victory and strength and uh, perseverance.
Mm.
All those were the stories that I was taught through hymns, through working. All that work that took place in the kitchen. You know, baking bread, canning. That's
Mm-hmm.
where culture is passed from one generation to the other. And knowledge of what them youngins are up to is passed in the kitchen too. Because sometimes they tell granny and auntie stuff they don't tell mom and dad. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
That's certainly true. That is certainly true. It was true of me. I'll tell you that.
Uh-oh. You had your one auntie that you told everything to,
Of
right?
course. I mean, she got it. She could relate. I mean,
Yeah.
So, wow, this is amazing. You're bringing back so many wonderful memories.
That's
You
what
really are.
Ujamaa is about, though,
Mm,
reclaiming our heritage, and seeds is a tool
mm,
that we do it. But while we're working and planting and packing and growing, we're spreading the good news of
mm,
how beautiful it is to be Black, to be African American, to be of African descent.
mm,
They say that a study was done, and they asked uh, these people, how much would you take to become white? So if you could sell your Blackness, and then you could be white, and you could have equal rights. But Black folks were not willing to trade, but no amount of money was worth giving up.
mm.
What it was to be Black. And so these things, as we reclaim this, people are going to feel a lot better about themselves. The suicide rate, the murder rate, our children shooting themselves every weekend.
Mm.
We can do better, girlfriend.
Yeah.
We can do better.
And people laugh at me. I mean, I was born and raised in the projects and so now that I've been in, natural environments and forests and parks and stuff, people laugh at me when I say I need to get back to the trees. And, I need to be in nature. I need to be in trees. And they just laugh as if I'm telling a joke.
And
And
they
I'm
need you too. They need you.
You think? Well, that's a
Yeah.
nice thought. That is a very nice thought.
Because we're all family.
Yeah.
And of course, as a part of the African cosmos, we recognize the spirits that were in living things and
Mm,
in the earth, and there was respect there. So if you recognize that tree as a living thing and that it has a spirit and it has, an existence, you're going to be a little bit more respectful of that,
mhm.
especially because, if you mess up, that tree will fall down on you and you don't have a chance. So, it's like, getting it, being respectful of nature. But the thing that gets me excited is about the
Mm,
bounty that is in the woods and the forest. One of our growers does a workshop called "Your Lawn is your salad." Your lawn is your salad, and he
oh
teaches
my.
people how to go through just their front lawn. Okay,
Oh
and
wow.
then he takes them on into the food forest and foraging. That all of that is part of our reclaimed heritage. There's two of our growers are writers, and they have written these children's books. And Fern is a little boy who forages. They had two grandparents. One was African American, one was Native American, and so they were taught foraging from their Native American side and farming from their African American side.
Mm,
So they talk about identifying things, being comfortable, feeling safe in the woods. And if you're in Baltimore, I'm sure you're more comfortable under a tree than you are out there on the pavement, on
yes.
that hot concrete.
Absolutely.
It's cooler,
Absolutely.
That's how I taught kids how to love the forest. What you do is you take them out of some concrete, let them hang out there in the parking lot. And then
Mm-hmm.
you take them into the woods and it's 15 degrees cooler. It's like they don't want to go back. You got to be sneaky, girl.
I
You
tell
got to
you
be,
what, and I know it works too.
gotta be
It
sneaky.
took a long time. I grew up in nothing but concrete, and the first time I went into an actual like forest, it was like magic. It was magical. So I still remember that to this day.
And
So,
Maryland is a beautifully green state. We're surrounded by beautiful places. One of the things that hurt my feelings was, I first started doing this work as environmental justice.
mm,
Environmental justice, we were looking at two things. One was protecting our beautiful waterways. We live in the richest estuary, the largest estuary in the world, the Chesapeake Bay.
mm,
And we're surrounded by farmland and all this, but yet people are hungry
mm.
and food insecure.
That
So here's what we found out, though. We found out, I was working with, you've got to interview this guy. He's the best thing since sliced bread. His name is Fred Tutman. He's
okay.
the river keeper for the Patuxent River, which is the longest and deepest river in Maryland. This guy is awesome.
Okay.
He's the only Black river keeper in the United States, and
Mm.
it's his job to protect the welfare of that river. And you can look up Maryland River Keepers. There's others. And Fred has been working to teach more people this. He's a litigator.
Oh.
He's got more than $600 million in settlements against people who tried to mess with his river, which is
Mm.
really cool. Oh,
Mm.
don't mess with the Patuxent. Longest, deepest river in Maryland, and the cleanest river in Maryland. But
Mm.
anyway, I've learned, all this stuff from hanging out with these environmentalists. But what I realized is that the waters are fed by the land. We that the nutrients that are in the rivers are part of runoff. So, we think of
Mm.
runoff as being only negative, but the fish and the sea life is dependent also on soil and nutrients that come from the land. There's this amazing interdependency that we have to have. If you live in the Chesapeake Bay, you should visit the waterways. But I found out that most people didn't know that river existed.
Oh,
And they
wow.
pass it on 95, they cross over it.
Yeah.
Whenever you drive from DC to Baltimore, and people did not even know, they didn't know about the resources. So I found that Black people were not visiting their resources. They didn't know they existed, which meant that we're in a sense almost still in a cage, and we're in a ghetto. A ghetto was a forced place where people were put basically to rot, to die.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to liberate ourselves, and one of the ways to liberate ourselves is to plant trees wherever we are. And my suggestion is to plant fruit trees, nuts,
Mm.
and berries. And that way you
Okay.
don't have to go all the way to the grocery store to get yourself some walnuts or pecans or some golden berries or blueberries. You
Mm.
know, cranberries are native to this region.
I did not. I did not know
Oh,
that at all.
girl, yeah, there's a lot of yummy stuff in the woods. Persimmons and pawpaw,
Mm.
you
Pawpaw
know,
was the most delicious fruit I have ever had. I mean,
aronia,
oh,
mushrooms,
huh.
the wealth, all of this. So the work that Ujamaa does is more, it starts with seeds, but it ends with our community.
Mm.
It's people. It's people work. It's very important that once we do learn something, that we don't just, like in the Bible said, the gifts were given one, put it underneath the bushel, didn't
Mm-hmm.
use it.
Yeah.
What we have to do is to make sure that what we learn is made available to 7 generations in the future.
Mm.
So everything we do as gardeners, as growers, as farmers needs to be regenerative in nature. So there's something left for 7 generations. So we do need to be planting trees. I just have 2 or 3 really beautiful trees that we have where you eat the leaves. Moringa? Do you know
Yes,
what moringa?
I
Do you know that
do.
the leaves are eaten as greens and cooked just like collard greens?
What?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, neem the same way. as people have heard of neem, but there's so many things. Baobab, everything on the baobab tree is edible. All the cherries, do you know all the berries, leaves are medicinal? So you have the fruit, but I think the biggest thing that I think is so interesting is the fact that these African foods that came with us, you know what they are? The foods that came from Africa?
I don't.
Oh, so let me tell
So
you.
there's a lot of
Okay.
them, right?
Well, they're basic categories. So did you know that all peas, all those peas, those African peas, they call them southern peas, cow peas, field peas.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are actually African peas. You know, they never want to give us credit for anything, you know. And did you know that all sorghum comes from Africa?
I didn't.
And
I,
sorghum is a very important grain, particularly for people with glucose intolerance. And did you
mm-hmm.
know okra is African crop?
That I did know. That is
Oh.
the probably the only one that I didn't know.
But did you know that watermelon is an African crop?
Oh, huh.
Makes sense for why they make fun of you when you eat it, right?
Uh-huh.
Anything to denigrate, you know? And then there's gourds. And let me tell you about these gourds. You know about the drum gourds and all those
I
African instruments they
do,
made from them?
yes.
Do you know those things travel the world 10,000 years ago? You know, they float. So the gourds
Oh.
traveled around the world before humans could ever travel.
Huh.
African gourds were traveling by sea around the world. So that's what we're trying to do, girl, is reclaim it,
Yeah.
name it, and rice is another one. Do you know about black rice?
I have seen and eaten black rice.
Okay, so I'm talking about La Marima,
Huh.
African varieties of rice.
Okay.
That's what that Carolina Gold is. You know, that's African rice. Of
Mm.
course, that again, that was something that was kidnapped from us.
Mm-hmm.
Glamorinum. So we are growing it. Hopefully we'll have enough in the future so that every grower can have some in their backyard. They can grow their own rice. That's nutrient dense but low in carbs. Isn't
That
that
is
something?
so, it really is. It
Isn't
really
that cool?
is. I never imagined that we could grow rice. I thought you needed so much space to be
And
able
they
to
also
grow
make you
rice.
think you need water to grow it.
Right. That's all I've ever seen.
So, girlfriend, let me tell you about this rice. It is just like black people. It is so adaptable. It can grow in water. It can grow in brackish water with salt in it. It can grow upland. It can grow in swamps. This
Mm.
rice is just like we like baby's kids. We don't die. We multiply.
Multiply.
That's why I love collard greens. You know, we have
Mm.
this heirloom collard project, and this is the number one way we introduce people to seed farming and long-term seed saving. Okra is very easy. You can grow okra, and as soon as the okra gets ready, you know, more than 2 or 3 inches, it's going to immediately get hard on the vine. So when it gets hard, if you pluck that hard thing, your seeds are ready to go. You
Oh,
get good seeds from okra. It's
okay.
very productive. Once it's no longer edible, no longer tender, it gets hard. It'll make a little instrument. You take that okra and you shake it around. You got to shake
Mm.
it right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
even okra tried to party. Anyway, but let me tell you the story of collard greens. So collard greens, uh, we know that many of the things we eat, like black eyed peas, iron and clay, and the lima beans, and all of those things came with us. Gandules, pigeon peas came with us on slave ships. They came in people's hair and in their pockets, and little mama put them in their sewed them in their hems of their garments and put them in little pouches around their necks. So those peas came with us from Africa because the slavers knew that they had to have something that people could recognize that they would eat. And that is a nutrient dense food that is macho. Listen, those African peas can
Mm.
take a lot. Black eyed peas, they produce so much and they're very resilient. And I'll tell you a little bit of story. Ask me later if you have any time about tell you the story about iron and clay. That's an important pea that came with us with Africa. Here's what I found out. So, I visit farms all over the country, and I was up in Massachusetts, up in Lancaster, visiting the World Farmers. So these guys Hmong and different African communities are farming African crops in Massachusetts outside of Boston.
Wow.
It's like, how'd that work?
Wow.
Does
But
that
they're
work?
doing
How can they grow African crops in Massachusetts? So, it was so interesting. So I went out to visit them. It's miraculous the work that these people are doing. They all have to write business plans. They have 380 that are growing in this community. And they have to find their own markets for their own produce, and they do. And they are earning a money. They're living off their
Wow.
produce. So my question was, what seeds did they have? And they were showing me the various plants they have, some of which we have in our catalog, and others that we would like to make available to our African American communities and others who want to eat yummy food too. But here's what they said. They said, what we can't understand is why African Americans throw away the primary crop and save the little tiny, tiny thing. I said,
Mm.
what you mean? They said, well, in Africa, we eat the pumpkin leaf, the melon leaf. We eat all the leaves from we eat leaves from okra. We eat leaves from sweet potatoes. All of
Mm.
these have delicious, wonderful greens. But y'all throw away the primary crop, which is the greens, and just eat the little tiny bitties.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was so funny. And I
Yeah.
just said, thank you, Lord.
Because we don't
Because here I
know.
am on this journey,
Yeah.
meeting my sisters and brothers from the continent that are turning me on. Everywhere I go, I tell them, don't throw away the primary crop. I said, well, how do you cook them? It's like any other green. It's
Mm.
just
Mm.
greens.
Mm-hmm.
So now, in more and more markets throughout the United States, you're beginning to see sweet potato greens, pea greens, and we will be with our growers. Our growers will be offering those in farmers markets because
Mm.
people don't know to eat them.
Yeah.
They don't know. Like we people don't know that okra leaves are edible, and some of them are more delicious than others.
Mm.
We have one called the motherland okra. Have you heard of the motherland okra?
I haven't.
Oh my goodness, girl, this okra is off the chain. It grows like a tree. You will not
Oh,
think that this is. If you just Google motherland okra, you'll see it.
okay.
So this brother by the name of John Jackson. His mother is Liberian. He's farming down in Georgia. And he found these seeds. And it looks like regular okra. It's a little fat, stubby okra. It's not a real
Mm.
long one. But the plant is giant. And the leaves are edible. Oh
Mm.
my God. So a friend of ours made us some okra leaf
Mm.
soup. That was a recipe he got from um, Samuelson, what's the brother's name? The Ethiopian brother in New York that's got the red rooster restaurant.
Mm.
Marcus Samuelson.
Okay.
So it was one of his recipes. That's the okra leaf soup. It was so delicious. You put coconut milk in there. You cook it down
Mm.
with the onions and peppers. It was like, oh Lord! And then we even had some okra ice cream. Yeah,
What?
it's cool.
Okra ice cream.
Okra ice cream.
Oh,
Uh,
you are really, I mean, like you're exposing me to so many things that I just did not have any clue about. Like we're
I'm
probably
having
missing out.
fun, Brenda. I'm having
Yeah.
fun
It
talking about
sounds like it. Mm.
reclaiming my heritage. You
Yeah.
know how Auntie Maxine said, reclaiming my time?
Mm-hmm.
I'm reclaiming my heritage.
The Food and Justice Podcast is proud to be organizational partners with Afro Vegan Society, Food Empowerment Project, Grow Where You Are, and Vine Sanctuary.
So there's people who are out there, but it might be your grandmother who doesn't talk a lot, But if you asked her, this happened to one of my friends. She said that she went to her grandmother and asked her what they grew. And her grandmother said, "You want to know what we farmed in North Carolina?" And she says, "Yeah, grandmother," because she just bought a farm. She bought a 13-acre farm in Southern Maryland. And she said, "I need to know what I'm supposed to be growing because it's what y'all ate." She said, "You are the first person in my family that's ever asked me anything about our heritage,
Mm-hmm.
what was important to us, what we grew." Her grandma started talking, she couldn't shut her up. Then the uncle came in and the cousins came in. Now she's on the prowl to
Mm.
reclaim some of the land that was stolen from her family in North Carolina.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yes. That
So
is, yeah. So many
she
people
doesn't know
are,
where the path is going to take her. She
yeah.
went down this road and somebody came out with some guns. So she
Uh-oh.
turned around and said,
Uh-oh.
let me find another way out of this. But she is, she is she's a scientist
Mm,
who worked on the COVID vaccine, and she's farming. She bought her own farm, she and her husband, and they're doing it. They're
mm.
doing their thing. And as more people go back to the land, they want a little bit different lifestyle, maybe a little bit different opportunities for their children. They want their children to be educated, but they want them to be safe.
Yeah.
Not that farming is that safe. I'm not trying to say that it's a panacea, but
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, it is our culture, it is our heritage, and somebody needs to be caring about these things and doing these things.
Yeah, and speaking of safety, one of the things that you talked about during our other conversation was that seed saving as a skill that will allow us to be able to adapt to changes. And I thought that that was really profound. So can you talk about how seed saving can help us to adapt?
Well, it's a little bit more than just seed saving. It's actually the art of seed breeding. So seed saving is step one. It just holding a seed, watching it, go through its life cycle at the end, harvesting those seeds, handling them properly, which means drying them properly so that you will have those seeds to plant the next season.
Mm.
That's what seed saving is about.
Okay.
Along with that comes seed sharing and seed trading. So throughout history, there have been these seed swaps where people come and they bring their seeds and they share someone with this guy, someone with that guy, and and they trade them off. And this person, and I have a tomato I really like. Somebody called me yesterday with a Miss May collard green from Farmville, North Carolina. Now I'm a collard green person.
Okay.
It was like I got to get my hands on this. She's an 84-year-old seed saver,
Oh,
and she's been holding this
okay.
seed from in her family. She has been a seed saver.
Mm.
We need to tell her story, capture that story, and extend those seeds so Miss May's seeds can be shared with the whole diaspora. So the next step after seed saving is really planting. We call it stewardship. So it's actually managing and learning some basic observation skills. So we have two projects that we use to teach people how to do that. One is the ultra-cross collard, and then we have an ultra-cross okra. And the way this works is these are mixes of multiple varieties that we mix together. I think I told you about the heirloom collard project, and you can Google that,
Mm.
heirloomcollard.org, and
Okay.
see the 21 collards that we started out doing trials. The story was that these people were growing collards in their yards, and two research scientists traveled the South looking for rare varieties of collard, looking for homegrown varieties. When they would see somebody, they would pull over the side of the road. They would knock on the door and say, "I see you growing collard out there. Tell me about your collard." And then they would eventually ask them for collard seeds.
Mm.
So one of them is a germplasm specialist from USDA. The other one's a historian from North Carolina. And what they realized was that from talking to these seed savers, that most of them did not have anybody who wanted to carry on the tradition.
Wow.
Most of them were in their 70s and 80s. And so they were gladly willing to give these seeds to Mark and Ed so that they could preserve these seeds for future generations, which they did. They were sitting in a really nice vault
Hmm.
in USDA, like that
Okay.
seed vault. When my sister Ira Wallace from Southern Exposure heard about it and heard that there was an interest in growing these out to preserve them, because if you don't grow seeds out, you'll lose them. They are not as vital over time. You have to periodically grow them out or keep them, in the freezer. But these are collard greens. They need to
Right.
be eaten, right? So Ira was working with Monticello, and they decided to do a collard week. And all of this is on the Heirloom Collard Project. And they grew out 21 varieties of collards, all these, and just to show people all the biodiversity was in these collard greens. So when you go look at it, you'll see it is exquisite. They are beautiful. They grew them all out in the field just to teach people, to get people interested in preserving these unique varieties. Girl, that project didn't stay just there. It went
Mm,
crazy. What
mm.
happened was that these sisters, these AKA sisters from Winston-Salem, heard about the project, and they said, well, are any of those seed savers African American? If so, we want to take some of those seeds, because they just had a little small number of seeds that they had, and do what's called an extension. So we would
Mm.
be responsible for growing them out. So there'd be enough seeds for everybody, right? So these sisters, some of them had never gardened before. They're working with a local master gardener, and they grew out William Moore. That's what we call that seed. It was William Moore,
Oh.
was a variety of seeds. And so that started this whole idea of using college as a community learning, a community science activity, where we would teach the skills of stewarding these varieties. So you can do the same thing with the okra. We have 85 mothers. I call them. We have actually 200 varieties of okra in the collection, and growing, because people, once they find out you're into this, they send you seeds from
Mm.
everywhere. So and what you can do is you can learn to observe them as they grow. So all the varieties, they have different color flowers. Some are tall, some are short, some grow real wide,
Mm.
and they're all different colors. So when you look at them, you'll see you have the white cabbage collard, and then you have a yellow cabbage collard. You have one that curls. You have a whole bunch of collards that are really dark, like blue and purple, like that. Then you have a whole bunch of collards that are shiny. They call them greasy. All these different collard greens. So what happened was, when you grow out enough plants, you need about 100 minimum to see the full array of what they can produce. Then you begin to see the biodiversity,
Mm.
because what you normally do is you want to protect that seed to make sure that there's nothing else. So you keep it in its state, you isolate it. But in this mix, you let them mix. So it's intercrossing, which is
Mm.
something that you do in order to get new varieties. So from this mix, I'm walking through this greenhouse, and I'm looking at pink collard, I'm looking at purple collard,
Whoa.
blue. Some collards had stripe. I swear to you, I'm not lying, that there was pink, purple, polka dot collards.
No. Oh my goodness.
There was green Reese's. So from that, so we're on our third year of growing out this ultracross, and what we found was that some could tolerate freezing temperatures. Now, most people know collards taste better with a frost.
Mm.
So now we have a group of seeds that we isolated. Those plants, we collected those seeds, and those are zero tolerance. So now we're growing them out, and we're actually trialing with some growers in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Canada, to try to develop varieties that will grow in colder climates. The same thing, collards don't go to seed in real hot weather. like in Florida, so we're doing the same thing. So the idea is we're learning how to breed for climate change through this process of observation and teaching people not just to plant, not just to save seeds, but understand that we need plants that are adaptable. And that's why we need them African plants, girlfriend. You know how we do.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And
This
plus,
is,
it looked like us. We range.
yeah.
The tallest people in the world are in Africa, the shortest people, the smallest, the biggest.
Mm,
I mean, some light, some dark. I mean, when I traveled to Africa the first time, I couldn't believe that there was blue eyes and green eyes and brown eyes and hazel. I was surprised to see blue-eyed Zulus, I'll be honest with you. But
mhm.
these people are ancient people. And the biodiversity, all human beings come out of Africa. It's all there. Some have straight hair. Some have hair that the little beads that sit up on their head, and some have, long faces. Some have thin noses. All of this is genetic selection. The
Mhm.
reason why you have the thin noses allows the body to cool off. The long, lean, thin bodies. So, just as we learn, as we grow, as we share, the more we learn about home, you know, we can help our brothers and sisters that are struggling, that have been so robbed and ripped off. What we have, we can share with them. They're
Mm.
just brothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews, and, you know, it's all
Mm.
in the family.
It
That's
is.
what we will do.
It is. And this is food bringing everybody back together, which we all familiar with. So I
Food
just,
and music. Put some
well, food
music
and me, yeah,
on
food
there.
and me.
Give me some music in the
You're right.
kitchen, and I'll be cutting up some collard greens and humming the tune. And you should come to our when we harvest sorghum. I invite you to our sorghum harvest. Maybe you
Please.
can invite some of your community to come and help us harvest that. We'll be talking about all the products you can make from sorghum. It's everything um, from milk, bread, flour. Uh, you can make syrup and nutritious sweets. You can make dye from the leaves, and the
Mm.
plant uh, is uh, uh, is very good at carbon sequestration. Somebody's making alcoholic beverages and
Uh-oh.
beer.
Uh-oh. And for folks who are watching on YouTube, that is sorghum behind you.
That is sorghum. Mhm.
Wow. Okay. So there are those who are trying to put all over the globe who are trying to put legislation in place to stop us from being able to save our seeds. Who are these folks and why are they doing this?
I'm not prepared to name names
Oh
today, but
no. Just
but
what is
we'll
the
come back
reason?
later. I can tell you that that big pharma, and you can look. I mean, big ag. You can look that up yourself.
Okay.
What they want to do is to be able to control all the germplasm in the world.
Hmm.
And so there's an effort. But where they are actually doing the best job of that is in the US. Other countries are already fighting a good fight to hold on to more biodiversity. They, however, have been successful in Africa in
Hmm.
terms of convincing some countries, their legislatures, that African seeds are garbage.
Hmm.
They're no good. You shouldn't seed save. You should buy all your seeds from us. So they have made it against the law to seed save. In Kenya, it is a 10-year jail sentence to save seeds.
What?
We've talked to growers from Ghana. The same legislation is before the assembly
Mm.
in Ghana. Now I love Ghana. Those are my home skillets. It's like, what? Somebody emailed me this morning about going speaking at a conference. It's like, I need to go slap somebody. Grandmas can do stuff like that. Because it's like, what you talking about? They can't have their traditional food.
Mm.
What are you talking about? They can't save their seeds. Are you crazy?
Mm.
And I have to believe there's some naughty Americans
I
I
mean,
could be wrong.
corporate
I might
control
be
of the
wrong.
food system.
It's Western. If it's not American, it's Western. And what they want is, and it's not like they're doing what they should do with the food, making sure that everybody eats.
Mm-mm.
If we want to eat, we need to have control of our own food supply. So, one of the last things I'd like to ask you is reverse the question for you. If you cannot grow your own food, are you truly free?
That is the question. And the answer is no. You can't possibly, if that's how you live. So you don't have control over your life. Whew, just got deep. I I I talk about urban environments and sometimes I feel discouraged. Every time I talk to you about urban environments, you are so positive and optimistic, and I love that because I need that. Um, and so I was gonna ask about, do you see a place for seed saving in urban environments?
Wherever two seeds are rubbed together, you should try to save some. Now, don't be. I had a friend. I gave him a pack of seeds. I told him, "I'm gonna teach you how to seed save." So he came back to me and said, "Boneeta, what you mean is I only plant half the seeds and then I save the other half in the package?"
Oh,
Like, no, that's not what I mean. What I want you
right.
to do is to extend this. If I give you 50 seeds, then you can produce thousands of seeds. Each one of these seeds is going to turn into a plant. The
Mm,
plant's probably going to be 4 or 5 feet tall, maybe 6 feet tall. You save seeds. Each one of those okra that I've given you will probably could produce 100 seeds. So I need you to be a multiplier. And then what you're going to do with those seeds is you are going to share those seeds with your loved ones, with your friends. And and then if you really so you feel confident and good at it, we're going to give you some rarer seeds,
mm,
and then you can farm seeds for us. Yeah, give you some
mm,
rare seeds.
mm-hmm,
We'll give you 25, Bambara, you know, nuts from, I'm trying to Zimbabwe. Grow out these 25 and see if you can extend this 25 to thousands or hundreds.
mm,
And we'll just learn it and give yourself the time and the space to learn. And we'll do it together. And then
mm.
if you make enough, then I'll sell them for you
Uh-oh.
in Ujamaa, and we'll pay you, a commission if you can produce good quality seeds using these strategies that were protected. Then you can become a vendor or a grower for Ujamaa.
Mm,
And that's where the collective comes in. Then
yes.
we share the financial benefits from the seed that we produce.
Ooh, I can't wait to get this show
It's
out.
another income stream. It's another revenue
Mm-hmm.
stream. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly. And especially for people who are acquiring land, purchasing land, they don't know how to use that land, you
but right
know.
there in the city, I tell you, if you got a backyard, you can produce seeds.
Yeah.
You gotta get some of those beautiful seeds. It's the Pippin collection is called Roughwood. They have seeds that this artist collected. He collected 4,000 seeds. His brother in World War I, and that's a collection that come from Baltimore and Philly.
Mm,
So you should be growing something from Baltimore,
yeah. I
saving those varieties.
I'm excited. I'm very excited about that. I did not expect to be this excited at this time of the day, but I really am. I really am.
Yep,
And
seeds will
thank
do it to you, girl.
I mean, I feel like we have covered a whole lot. So you've traveled around the country and you've even done presentations to people globally um about, teaching about what you're doing, the growing the seed crops, the saving the seeds. But you specifically mentioned that teaching children and even teaching prisoners was particularly satisfying work. So why is that?
Because that's the word that the ancestors that God has put on my heart to reclaim our heritage and make sure that it's there for the future. So I think I tell you about this brother whose grandmother was Ethiopian. He's convicted of murder in prison for 25 years. He's getting out. And, you know, and I must tell you that in the past, I would have been very sad about his story. But all I could think about was all the beautiful Ethiopian varieties that we had in our catalog. And I could make sure that I could get these brothers some seeds he could grow in honor of his wonderful, devoted Ethiopian grandmother. So now, even if he just has a deck or a window, he could grow something, maybe some Ethiopian basil or something in honor of his grandmother. So, growing is like, it's nursery work, it's nurturing. So it's something that will give him a reason to get up in the morning, and it's something to give him pride and something he can do in honor of his grandmother. The same way with children, of course, they take right to it. My grandson asked me for 3 things he's growing. I asked him, Kai, what do you want to grow? I did find something. He's a dinosaur nut. He loves everything dinosaur. So I found this dinosaur okra. So I said, Kai, do you want to grow dinosaur okra? He said, yeah.
Oh,
And I said, what else do you want to grow? He says he wanted to grow cucumbers, tomatoes, and carrots. His mother said, he don't even eat cucumbers. Here's what we know. Children will eat what they grow. So I found him a small cucumber, a pickling cucumber that's best eaten at 2 to 3 inches. And he says he's going to give them, and tomatoes, to all the kids in his preschool class.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Oh,
That's
that's
how we do it,
wonderful.
girlfriend.
It is.
And one of our growers in DC has a Montessori school, and she's teaching farming, not gardening, farming to her preschoolers in her Montessori school in DC.
That's
Girl, don't you know that
amazing.
makes me happy?
Oh,
And the
I'm
parents are
sure.
jealous because the kids know how to farm, and they don't.
Oh my goodness. But that's
It's
how we gotta do it.
revolutionary.
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
just,
it skips a
some
generation.
people think you got to burn things down, but maybe you could grow things up. Maybe it's a whole another way to be revolutionary. And it's
Yeah,
constructive instead of destructive.
that's important. That's a really important point. Thank you for making that point, because people talk a lot about burn it all to the ground, but maybe there's a different way.
Now wait a minute. Now if you take that sorghum behind me, once you use it, you make your grain, you make your milk from it, you make your beer, you can make alcohol from it. You take the leaves and you turn that into dye for your fiber. You could actually use it as a delicious uh, flavoring and coloring for your rice. Once you've done all that stuff with it, then you burn it.
Huh.
And from the ash, you get a glaze for pottery. Yeah, girlfriend.
What?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
That
ma'am.
plant is something else. I've
Oh, you
never
can make
heard of.
fiber from it. You can make fabric from it. Fiber,
Huh.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's good for everything, basically. It's good for every category.
When
We
I
got the
get when I
food.
get through when I get through talking about sorghum, y'all be tired of me.
No, no, this is
But I'm gonna
important.
let you taste it, and then you'll be on the bandwagon.
Yeah,
It
I
is
can't wait.
delicious.
I
Okay,
can't wait. Yeah.
candy. One of our growers made delicious caramel candy from it.
Mm.
Ooh,
And it does have a sweetness to it.
it's sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
It can't compete with cane sugar because it doesn't crystallize.
Okay,
So it was originally hoped to be a sugar product. They went to beets and sugarcane because it crystallizes. It
okay.
does not. It
Got
stays
it.
in a syrup form,
Huh,
and it's delicious.
I
It's
bet.
yummy. And it used to be something that folks in North Carolina had. Ask your grandmother. Folks in
Yeah.
North Carolina used it for breakfast. My grandfather always had it in the house,
Huh.
but we lost it. Another lost. They call it the lost crops of Africa.
Mm.
It's called. It's one. There's a whole series of books on that.
Yeah.
It's not lost no more, girl. We found it. been fair without you, Alex.
Mhm.
You've been hiding all that yummy this without you.
We found
Okay,
it.
you got me
Well,
acting like a high school teacher.
well,
So
no, this is
silliness.
great. This is one of the more fun, energetic interviews that I've ever done. So I appreciate this. I really, really do. Um,
Well, grannies aim to please.
you you mentioned that the environmental activist Wangari
Bye.
Maathai was one of the inspirations to start you with doing environmental work originally. Why is that? Like, how did that happen?
Listen, if you ever hear anything about this woman and you see what she was able to accomplish, she's a Kenyan woman living in, a rural community, a farming community, and going to school. It's so hard for girls in many places in the world. And somebody came along, and her mother actually earned a living off of fruit crops that she got. And somebody came along, I won't say where they came from, probably somewhere north,
Mm,
and talked the Kenyan government into tearing down all the trees that these farmers were growing, and they lost their livelihood.
mm,
They lost their livelihood, and the erosion. They had flooding, and they lost the land because once the trees were gone, there was nothing to hold upon. So she started this journey, and over the course of her life, she became an activist. She became, a women's rights activist. She studied. She graduated, from University, came to the United States, got a PhD, joined Parliament, and was beaten by the government and suffered unknown toll. But in the meantime, she started the Greenbelt movement, which you can just Google. There's more books written about this woman than anybody I know.
mm,
And she planted trees, and she died an early death. But we're planting trees, following her footsteps.
mm,
First environmentalist to win the Nobel Peace Prize, first sub-Saharan African woman.
mm, mm.
If you can say Judge Washington Carver, you got to say Dr. Wangari Maathai.
Yeah.
They're my ancestors on whose shoulders I proudly stand.
Mm. Thank you for that. So obviously your work, we're going to post about you. We're going to post about your work. There's so much work that you have
I
been
need some
engaging
help. Come
in.
and help me clean some seeds.
Yeah, like I want people to know how to connect, how to get to these workshops, both virtual and the stuff in person. Like how do people
Most people follow us on Instagram and Facebook. That's how you can find out what's latest with us.
Okay.
If you can support our work by buying seeds, we will have online workshops, and you can participate and learn through those. And you can communicate with us if you have a community group. We work with community-based organizations mostly. That's why if you can hook me up with Reverend Heber Brown, that we work mostly with collectives. We have many collectives that we're working with because
Okay.
that's how we operate in a collective manner.
Okay.
And but we are always looking for seed savers, but seed stewards, people who already experienced. We need those to help us to extend these rare varieties of seeds we have, and to learn the seed selection, seed breeding, and growing for climate survival, and to do our part so Mama Earth won't drop kick us off like she did the darn dinosaurs. That's what they were messing up. You see what happened to them.
Taking up
We're going
all
the
that
same
space.
way if we don't
We
get our
sure
act
are.
together.
We sure are. Okay, so we'll make sure that all the information about you, about your work, about how people can purchase the seeds, all of it is going to be at
Yeah. Yes,
fjpodcast.com.
yes, thank you.
Yeah,
And
it's just, oh. My
We have
brain
a
is
lot to
full.
do, but
So much.
and we also have a new project called the Front Porch, which is a way for writers, and it's like a book club, a writing club that we just launched last night.
Mm,
So all of that will be on Instagram if people are interested in writing, sharing their poetry, expressing themselves, music. We're looking
mm.
always for creatives to want to join, get on the bandwagon.
Okay. Wow. And that just launched last night, you said?
He launched the Front Porch. You know about the Front Porch, right?
Now
When
I
you go up
do.
to Granny's house,
Oh, of
you
course.
can't just
Of
roll up in
course.
the house.
No,
Granny's
no.
sitting on the front porch.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to stay there and talk to Granny.
You sure do. You sure do.
And you
You
may
might as
not
well
ever
sit down.
get through the front door because Granny may say, no.
It's
But if you
true.
behave yourself, she may serve you some tea, maybe some lemonade.
Mm,
If you're grown up, you may get a mint julep or something like that.
okay.
And you may be invited in. So that's
If
one
you're
of the
lucky.
portals. The front porch is one of the ways
That's
to
right.
get into the Ujamaa family. But it's
Wow.
actually anybody who likes us, anybody who we like. It's all about love. If we see you, we hug you, we like you. You're part of the family. It's hard not to like you. Look how you smile.
Oh, thank
What's not to
you.
love? You got to love you. Uh-huh.
Thank you. I
Yeah, I didn't
can't
want to
wait.
be a granny because I thought it would slow my roll, but it's done the opposite.
Mm, good. Good, because we need it. Thank you so much. I really just appreciate the time that you spend because I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so just spending this time with us has been amazing and fun, and I
But this is my
laughed.
work. This is
Yeah.
my life work.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to do what makes me happy. And a lot of people don't have that privilege. I don't take these opportunities for granted. This is the most important work that I've ever done.
Mm,
Seeds are the most powerful weapon I've ever had against ignorance and poverty
mm.
and complacency. I don't know how good they are at fighting laziness. So I'll let you
Well,
know. The lazy people want to do gardening
mm,
work in your
mm.
apartment, but
We
you
need to
know,
do it.
but if we having
Everybody needs
fun,
to.
they'll come along just
Yep,
just to be where the party's at.
that's right. That's right. That's why I'm gonna be there. Be like, where's the
Okay.
party? But also to
Right
work.
there under your shoes or boots.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Bonnetta Adeeb, everybody, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to say thank you to the folks who are listening to or watching the show. This has been a wonderful time, and I invite you to come back next time for Food and Justice with Brenda Sanders.
Thanks for tuning in to Food and Justice with Brenda Sanders. See you next time.